Hey everybody, welcome back to a special edition of God Made Millionaire TV called Into the Vault, where I park my car and I teach you from experience and from my results how to activate your God-given dreams. And on this special episode, I'm going to talk about 3 keys that are critical to activating your God-given dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not like the crowds, but my wife, she loves the 4th of July. She loves the fireworks, to watch those fireworks. And usually to watch those fireworks, you've got to embrace the crowds that attract those fireworks shows. And one year, I rented a penthouse in Cape Coral at the Westin Hotel. The top floor, the 18th floor, the rooftop deck is what I rented one year so Miss Vicky could enjoy her 4th of July fireworks show. And what struck me about the penthouse was we went into the elevator and we had to push a button for the 18th floor to be taken to the 18th floor. Ladies and gentlemen, when God gives you a dream, when God gives you that dream, it's up to you to push the button on the floor that you go to. It's up to you. God wants to take you up to the penthouse floor. But what most people will do when they have a God-given dream is they'll get into the elevator of life and they'll stand there and they'll wait until somebody else pushes a button. Maybe it takes them to the 3rd floor. All this time, you've got the penthouse waiting for you. And there's something about God's people that the people that are believing God, that they have a mandate on their life, they think God is going to choose the floor for them. God is not going to choose the floor that you go on. He's not going to choose the floor you go on. It's not up to God whether you go to the penthouse floor or to the 5th floor. It's not up to God which floor you go to. It's up to you to take the action and know which floor you want to go on. It's not, listen, people will pray about it. Go, if it's God's will, He'll take me to the penthouse floor. No, He won't take you to the penthouse floor, baby. You got to get in there and you've got to, by faith, you've got to press that penthouse floor. Well, if it's God's will, He'll take me there. No, He won't. No, He won't. He will not take you to the penthouse floor. He's not going to give you $1 million house, $1 million business, because that's His will to do, and you didn't choose it for yourself. God's given us the ability to choose our floor that we go on. And each floor, you can think of a floor being a floor of prosperity. There's a $100,000 floor. There's a $50,000 floor. There's a $250,000 floor. There's a $1 million floor. Which floor are you going to press? How ridiculous does it seem to you that you would ever enter in an elevator and then just leave it up to the will of God which floor you go to? No, we don't do that, but we do that in life, especially with a God-given dream. Now, I have a story that illustrates this perfectly, what I'm teaching you today on our show. And there's a story, and it's a true story, about the 2 brothers that were destitute. They were selling scrap iron to get by. They were estranged from their mother, and they were living in the cave. They were cavemen in their country. They had lots of caves in that country, and that's where they were living. Unbeknownst to them, their mother passes away. Their grandmother knew of their existence, and one day they learned that they were heirs of a fortune, $6.2 billion. $6.2 billion. One day, they're in the cave, struggling just to survive, just to eat, they're begging for their daily existence. And yet, in a moment, in an instant, here they are, not millionaires, but billionaires. Listen, your life can change in a moment, in an instant. Do you hear me? Your life can change in a moment, in an instant. I don't care how dark the night is. I don't care of the forces that have aligned against you. Your life can change in a moment, in an instant. You can go from the outhouse to the penthouse overnight. And I have a question for you. When did the caveman brothers become billionaires? When their mother died? Some may say from a legal perspective, when their mother passed away? No, they didn't. I propose to you that they became a billionaire when they left the comfort of the cave. See, ladies and gentlemen, if they would have never left the comfort and the security and all that they knew in their life was the safety of that cave, if they never came out of that cave, they wouldn't access what God had given them. Over $1 billion. $6.2 billion. How many of you right now are watching this show and you've got that God-given dream, but you've been in the cave? You've been hiding out in the cave, barely getting by, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Why? Because you're in this cave. It's safety for you. It's the only thing that you know. But how many of you know that God, I believe, is calling you out of the cave on this show? He's calling you out. He's calling you out. I want to talk about 3 keys to activating that God-given dream. 3 keys of coming out of that cave and walking in your divine right that God has for you. So let's talk about key number 1, focus. Focus. God has not called you to be a jack of all trades. God has called you with one assignment, one mission to do. And what people will do, entrepreneurs will do, is that they will become a jack of all trades. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. In the medical profession, who makes the most money in the medical profession? Is it the general practitioner, or is it the specialist, the heart specialist, the lung specialist, the foot specialist? Who makes the most money? It's the specialist. They specialize on one thing. The problem with entrepreneurs today is that they get excited about one thing. They know the clouds have parted. I've got divine inspiration. I know what I'm called to do until tomorrow, until they watch some TV show about rehabbing houses, and all of a sudden now they're going to make their fortunes doing that. The problem in the industry is that they call that diversification. Diversification. You diversify. Well, here's what I would tell you. If I'm going to coach you, you're going to focus in on one dream that God has given you. And then you achieve expert status on the one dream. Take that dream to 6 figures. Take that dream to 7 figures. Then and only then you diversify. But most people will hop from deal to deal, from dream to dream. God's not in that. God has called you to do one thing and do it well. And I would tell you, growing up, my father would say to me, son, I don't care what you are in life. You can be a garbage man if you choose, and I'll be proud of you as long as you do your very best. As long as you're the best one that does it, son, I'll be proud of you. Ladies and gentlemen, focus on that one thing that you've been called to do. We've not all been called to do the same thing, but I can tell you this, you've been called to do one thing, and you know what that one thing is. But like the caveman, you've hid out in the cave for far too long, and this is your wake-up call. God is calling you right now to come out of that cave and activate that dream, but he's not calling you to do 10 things. He's not calling you to do 10 things. He's calling you to do one thing, and I want you to do that one thing. I want you to do it better than anybody else does it. I want you to do it with a spirit of excellence. The second key is I want you to believe. I want you to believe. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've built $1 million company. One of the reasons I was able to do that is that I believed that I could do that. Some of you are saying, TC, I could never see me building $1 million company. Well, if you don't see it, with all due respect, you will never see it. The reason that I built $1 million company, is because I believed that I could. Do you hear me? I believed that I could build one. I believed that I could do that. Last key that I want to give you before I get up and out of here. See, because I'm getting wound up. I'm ready to go jump in the pool or put my head in the jacuzzi to settle down because you guys got me all fired up here. I was just going to have a nice, relaxed teaching here, but now I'm all fired up. But I want to tell you that whatever you do, and I touched on this before with my father and what he counseled me to be, is be the best. God honors a spirit of excellence. God honors a spirit of excellence. I stayed at a high-name hotel chain last night, and it was not high-end. It was not high-end. It did not meet my expectations. That brand was a luxury brand that delivered low-budget results. Don't downsize your dream. You represent the God of the universe. Do you understand? You represent the best. So whatever you do, whatever that is, don't downsize your dream to fit your budget. Upsize your dream to fit your God. Upsize that dream to fit your God. Adopt a spirit of excellence. If it's got your name on it, make it excellent. You represent our Lord and Savior, then represent with a spirit of excellence. Listen, I'm out of time. Listen, visit our website down below at godmademillionaire.com. Give us some feedback. You can call the number as well down below. Activate that God-given dream. Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying this special edition of Into the Vault. I've got another special edition, powerful teaching lined up for you, ready to go. But as that's getting queued up, I want to encourage you, if you're somebody that needs prayer right now, I want you to encourage you to contact us down below. Listen, I don't have holy water to send to you. I don't have a prayer cloth, but what I do have is a belief in our God's ability to do miracles on your behalf. I also want to encourage you, if you're somebody that's activated your God-given dream, or you're somebody that hasn't activated your God-given dream, join our community at godmademillionaire.com. Visit our site. We've got training resources, publishing programs, media programs, coaching programs, partner programs. It's all there for you to equip and empower you to activate your God-given dream. So visit godmademillionaire.com. And now, without any further ado, let's go into the vault one more time. Hey everybody, welcome back to a special edition of Into the Vault, a special edition of the God Made Millionaire TV show where I pull back the curtain and let you know, the viewer at home, some insider strategies, some principles that will help you activate your God-given dreams. You know, ladies and gentlemen, when I am privileged to speak at an event or even meet some people that actually watch our show, that enjoy the show, they often talk about how they feel I'm so naturally gifted at doing what I do, and nothing could be further from the truth. They don't know my backstory. Ladies and gentlemen, up until the time I was 5 years old, I could not speak. I had a major speech impediment, and I could not talk. The only ones that could understand me were my mother and my father and my brother. I was made fun of at school so bad that the first day of school, I came home and I was crying. I was in tears because the kids had been so cruel making fun of me. And I told my father, I said, I'll not go back to school. My father, being the great man that he is, he took me in the backyard and he motivated me. He said, you're going to go to school, son. And school I went. And he took me to several specialists. One doctor said that I was mentally retarded. That was the terminology they used then. Another said I was deaf and would never be able to hear. My father was a blue-collar worker. He was a truck driver by trade. And my father never accepted the diagnosis that these medical doctors gave him. He said, there's a doctor in Chicago that can fix my son, and I'm going to find him. And he did. One day he found a doctor that could fix me, and I actually had a surgery, and it was successful in the surgery, and it put me on a journey of learning how to speak. And when most children in the elementary school grades up until 6th grade, I didn't go on recess. I went to a speech therapist to learn how to speak, to learn how to enunciate my words, ladies and gentlemen. So when you look at me, it's not natural talent. I've always had more heart than talent. I've always had more heart than talent, and I learned how to speak. And I got tough along the way. You know, when you're made fun of at a young age, my way to solve those problems was physical. I would not hesitate to drop the gloves and fight anybody. And so I got tough along the way. And I want to fast forward my story to when I graduated high school. I was elected to give the speech by my fellow students to give our graduation speech. And I gave that speech. And it was interesting that, and I know some of you that are watching this will find this surprising, but the administration didn't want me to speak. I was a little bit of a wild child in high school, and they didn't want me to speak, but the student body wanted me to speak. And they agreed to let me speak, provided that they have a kill switch on my microphone. They wanted to be able to approve what I spoke about, and they wanted a kill switch, which I didn't have a problem with that. And I gave that speech, and here's the thing. Leading up to that speech, I didn't know who was going to appear on that stage. My mother was going to be there. My father, my brother, and my sister were going to be in attendance. My family was going to be at this speech. And you have to look at how God has turned this around, right? The first day of my schooling, here it is. I run home crying because I was made fun of and I couldn't speak. I could speak, but people couldn't understand me as a 5-year-old. And here it is, on the day that I'm graduating high school, I'm getting ready to speak. I was selected by my friends to give that speech. And here the administration thought that I would embarrass my family. They thought that? No, I would never do that. But ladies and gentlemen, what I was racked with was questioning who was going to show up that day. Was it going to be the 5-year-old boy that was made fun of, or was it going to be the man that God had raised up in that time period? And I gave that speech. I got a standing ovation. As a matter of fact, the students that attended that was 40 years ago. I'm dating myself, and I know you're checking your screen right now going, 40 years? You don't look old enough to have graduated high school 40 years ago, but that is true. 40 years ago, there are still people that I graduated with that can quote from that speech. And I remember after that speech was over, running to the cafeteria as fast as I could where the diplomas were. I got my diploma because I didn't want them to change their mind and not give it to me. And I went to the bathroom and I sank in that bathroom. I crumbled up in that bathroom and I just wept. I just wept because I knew what God had done. He'd taken me from 5 years old and He turned my situation around. He turned that around to such a degree. Ladies and gentlemen, where you're at, our God specializes in the turnaround. He took me from a 5-year-old boy that couldn't speak, and in 18 years, He turned that situation around where I got a standing ovation from my friends, from my classmates. God's able to do that, ladies and gentlemen. But here's what I want you to know. No man is an island. No man is an island. When you look at the name of our show, God Made Millionaire TV, you look at it, and some people have a problem with the term God Made Millionaire. In my viewpoint, there is no such thing as a self-made millionaire. That is the most anti-Christian term that I've ever heard, is the term self-made millionaire. And I do know a lot of millionaires, but I don't know any of them that are self-made. Such a creature does not exist. And I want to end by sharing this story with you. I want to tell you a story that really emphasizes this point of what God Made Millionaire TV is really about. That no man is an island, that it's God's people helping God's people. Back in the 15th century, there were two brothers that were born into a family of 18 children. 18. And they were, their father struggled. Can you imagine feeding 18 kids? The father worked in the mines to support his family the best he could. And two brothers had dreams to go to the academy and study art. And they knew that their father wouldn't be able to pay for the academy for them to go. So they hatched up a dream one night. Their names were Albrecht and Albert Dewar. And they hatched up a plan, these brothers. One night they were going to flip a coin. And the one that won the toss would go on to the academy while the other would labor in the mines, paying the bill of the other brother's education. Once that was completed, then the other brother would come back, and then the other brother would go to the academy and get his education. And on that fateful night of the coin flip, Albrecht Dewar won the coin toss on that night, and he went off to the academy in Nuremberg, while his brother, Albert, labored in the mines, supporting his other brother. Well, Albrecht Dewar, when he went to that school in Nuremberg, he was an immediate success. His artwork was tremendously received, and surpassed even his professors at that time. And he came home a success. He came home a success 4 years later, and they had a banquet table set up to celebrate his success. And then he was at the head of the table, and he rose at the head of the table, and he gave a toast because they were celebrating his success of his artwork and how he had become so successful. And the brother rose, Albrecht rose, and he toasted his brother Albert, who had labored in those mines for 4 years. And he said, "Brother, I have what I have because of you laboring in those mines, and I'm toasting you. Now I will follow up on my end of the deal, and I'll support you to allow you to go to the academy." And there was a quiet that came over the room as Albert sat there sobbing. No, 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 no. It is too late for me, brother. The 4 years that I've been in that mine have destroyed my hands, so much so that I can't even pick up this glass to return your toast. The arthritis is so bad in my hand, brother. No, No, for me, it's too late. Years went by, and Albrecht Dürer painted a picture in honor of his brother. It was of his tortured hands held towards heaven. You may have a reproduction in your home right now called the Praying Hands. The world came behind that in such a big way, but that is a brother's tribute to his brother who sacrificed so that he could have success. So when you see that praying hands, now you know the story. And understand this, when I tell you that I stand on the shoulder of people that believed in me, I stand on the shoulder of therapists, speech therapists that taught me how to speak. I stand on the shoulder of a father and a mother that wouldn't quit and wouldn't accept the diagnosis of a doctor. When I tell you, you look here and you see this beautiful set, and you look at me and I'm the focal point of the show as I host the show. God is the focal point, but I host the show, and you look at this. You don't know the team that I've got behind me that sacrificed so much so we can have such a beautiful set and beautiful production. There is no such thing as a self-made millionaire. No one gets to the top alone. No one makes it to the top alone. No one does. Hey everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I'm honored and privileged to host the hottest show on TV, where each and every week we feature God's people, faith-based entrepreneurs and leaders activating their God-given dream right before your very eyes. I want to encourage you that if you're somebody that God has given a God-given dream, I invite you to come on our set and activate your God-given dreams. Book a call with our producers and walk in your destiny.